Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation.
Welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What am I thinking? Well, we are thinking that it is the premiere night for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Much awaited, but I'm already hearing a little bit of a letdown until the latter part of the show. I will be up front. I missed probably the first maybe 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes of it. But we wanted to be able to post as close to real time post show. So I'm going to let Lori kick us off, and then I will chime in from where I feel like I can begin to add something to the narrative. So go ahead, Lori.
So I agree this season is and has been much awaited. I was looking forward to seeing how they were going to rebound from the last season with the Kathy Hilton and all of that. And the show basically, it started off with Dorit talking to her husband, PK, stating that they had a rough season and that a lot of the friendships were fractured. And she wanted the group to come together to meet with a lady called Eagle Woman to kind of just help them navigate where they were and how they could get to a better place. So they did. Dorit found this place, I think it was in Malibu, and they went and sat around in a circle, and Eagle Woman kind of guided them through, and you had Dorit talking about the BravoCon and how she was upset, how Erika said that PK and her marriage was going to fail, and then you
I remember that.
Right. And typical Erika, I think it's difficult for her to really own. Well, I take it back. She will say what she said. She will put 10 toes down, and she will explain it as if it were a factual event. She did all of that. She talked about how she didn't want to answer the question, but she went and she answered it, and she performed because that's what the audience wanted. It was a bad question, so she just gave the audience what they wanted to hear. But what she didn't understand, and what Dorit was trying to explain to her, was that after the year that she had, she needed a friend and not someone that would kind of poke at her in that way, in such a hurtful way. Even if it was just in jest, it was something that another friend wouldn't do to their friend.
And I call Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire that she is performing in the manner that the audience is dictating her to perform. She performs, but it's always on Erika's terms. Absolutely.
And that's always been one of my problems with Erika. When she first came on the show, she is not that person from her first season. It's like each year this layer of who she is as a person really began to reveal itself. And there is something, a part of her personality, something about her that's missing. And we'll get to her talking to her counselor later and what comes out when she's talking to her counselor. But anyway, so in this circle, each person goes around naturally. We have Sutton, she feels that she thinks that everyone needs to get to a better place, and Garcelle, same thing. And then Kyle, she really just kind of lets it out there that she basically is just done being a doormat, to just sum it up, and that she did not deserve all of the anger that came from her sister, and that she has just resolved that she's not taking that anymore. And she talked about how she was kind of upset with some of her friendships, meaning Garcelle and Sutton, because they kind of looked like they sided with her sister instead of her. But in the end, the women, they all came together and agreed that they wanted to be in a better place. And then after that, they kind of just broke off, and we were seeing the women in their different settings. So I'm not sure, where did you kind of come in on the show, Tracy?
I came in with Sutton and having the meal with Jennifer Tilly.
I love her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I entered the episode. So is that, how much beyond that, what else would I have missed?
Not much. That's honestly, I don't want to say that it was kind of a yawn fest for me. I kind of had expected, I guess my expectations were much higher, but in hindsight,
but they tease out the drama, Lord.
And I get that, and that's what I was going to say. In hindsight, the way the season 12 was left, it made sense that it's almost like they are not setting the pieces on a checkerboard, but they're setting the pieces on this chessboard. And that's what I was just seeing, where everyone's place is as the season is getting ready to play out, because each person, there were little elements that's going on in their life. With Sutton, she's talking about her divorce and how she wants to stick it to her husband and for him to see her success.
Right. And so I saw her, and I heard, and that information she was sharing about the success she wants to have for herself, show her kids, her daughter specifically. That was great. But as you said, nothing really of consequence in that meeting with Jennifer. And then I want to say, did it move from her to Erika and the therapist?
Yes, it went to Erika. Right.
Did it go to Erika and the therapist? I wasn't sure if it went to Erika and the therapist or Dorit and PK again.
If it did, I fell asleep on them.
Well, they did. They did have a moment where right before Kyle came over to them to visit them. So you remember that part, right?
Yeah,
let's go ahead and talk about Erika and her therapy session.
Oh my goodness, so telling.
Yeah, but when you said something about her having two personalities, well, the thing that I believe happened is that as Erika Jayne became more prominent and famous, aspects of Erika Jayne became truly a part of Erika Girardi. And I think that's what you see with the transformation of who she was her first season. Who she is now is a little even more different because of all the stuff that happened with Tom. But yeah, I think that duality that you saw is because of the performance, Erika. And I think it became more real to her that there were aspects of Erika Jayne that she didn't leave on the stage.
I mean, but to ask your therapist when she speaks about the fact that she is going to mourn her marriage in a different way when Tom is gone, and for her to basically say, am I? Why? It was like to be shocked that is an experience that you're going to have. Or when she tells her about being empathetic and her saying, basically, I'm not sure that I know what that is or if I can do that.
But you have to realize that Erika grew up masking feelings and emotions. the household that she grew up in, her grandmother, her grandmother was the closest to helping her to stay in touch with feelings and emotions. Her mother was very hard on her, and she grew up in a way where it probably did not benefit her to show any emotion, because that was probably a sign of weakness to her, even though we know it's not. I think that's a lot of what happened and how she made her way. You know,
it's certain. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's arrested development, but it very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
It can be. It can be, but it's also that there's more people than you probably would want to know that are stunted when it comes to their emotions. And the reason what people are more comfortable expressing anger, don't let me put my therapy hat on too much, my clinician, but people are more comfortable expressing anger, which is not a primary emotion, it's a secondary emotion, but they're more comfortable with it because, unfortunately, in our society, it's more accepted than to have someone cry.
Yeah, it definitely is
I mean?
one of those emotions that gets your attention. And when they did kind of like the montage playing back, that's what you can see. That's her go-to emotion.
Yeah, it was safer. And so it doesn't surprise me that I know there's aspects of her and times in her life when she has been empathetic, but the fact that she could not verbalize that and connect it to the definition of it is, disappointing, if anything. But I'm not surprised that she was not connected to what's going to happen with her grief and everything with Tom. None of that was so surprising. So we'll see more with that, hopefully more growth, but we'll see. But let's talk about so they did do the little meal with Dorit sharing about her marital situation. And as she's doing this, I'm like, are you doing this to give Kyle an opportunity to open up on camera about what's going on in her marriage? That's all I was thinking when she was talking about that.
I really feel that, that right, that I know she's in the know. And you're right, Tracy. And at the moment I was watching that did not come to mind. But now as I think, and I recall that scene, I think that was her little carrot. Like, I'm going to, yeah.
And she took Kyle's cues. Kyle was basically letting her know, I ain't ready. And so she did not go there. But, we'll save Kyle for the end, but yeah, that's what that whole scene was about. So Dorit was giving her an opportunity to tell her own story,
right,
about what was going on in her marriage, and she didn't take the cue. She wasn't ready for whatever reason. So we can go to Garcelle and her boys.
Oh, that was so hard.
It was hard to watch, but I totally understood Jack's point of view.
Yeah.
I totally got it. And I guess I was surprised that she wasn't more in tune to the effect that her being gone would have. I understand she is about her grind. She's about her coin. She's got to do what she's got to do. However, it is all a choice. And the thing that I was disappointed to hear was when she said, if you tell me you don't want me to go, I can't tell you that it would change my mind because it's work. But I tell my clients all the time, when you're a parent, well, even in most things in this life, you only get to do certain things. You have a window of opportunity to do it. And parenting your child is one of those finite windows where you have the influence that it really holds some weight. And once they get into those later teen years, it does change. And so to think that just because they were cared for and provided for, and that they had the time with the father, and you were putting in, and I'll put in air quotes, quality time with them, that was enough. It makes me sad that when she said that, she would basically choose the work sometimes over them, even if they expressed it. Now, I can understand if you got the job booked, they express it, you can't do it. But how about let's not book the next job and have some conversation and some therapy you know what I'm saying?
It was a tough place for her to be in as a single mom. And,
for sure.
Even just thinking about how her marriage kind of dissolved, and I think all of that in the way that it happened, it caught her off guard, and then she probably just began this montage in her head. But I can do this on my own. I can provide for them. I can give them just as much as their dad. So then I
think that was a lot of it, Lori.
Yeah.
That wanted parity with what was going on when they were with their dad. And she didn't want there to be any lack of what they were able to do and what she could give them than what could come for him, or even more so. You know what I mean? I do think that had something to do with it. And I get it. We all have those tough choices to make. But what I would consider reasonable and means and providing compared to probably what she's trying to do for her kids, I wonder if there are any regrets on her part to maybe have made a couple different choices and said no to one or two jobs. Maybe. I don't know.
I think the saving grace in this is at the time this was filmed, he was 15, and we know that in the next 3 years he will be legally an adult, and something happens to the mindset of that 18 or 19-year-old person. They look back on their childhood sometimes with a different set of eyes, and hopefully he can review the fact that his mom, everything she did for him, and that they can have that mom-son moment, and where he expresses this to her, and that'll heal that place in her heart that I'm quite sure is aching. No mom wants to feel like they are doing their absolute best and they are trying to do all of these things to make a better life and opportunities for their child, and then to hear that this child is not appreciative of that and feel that in some way they missed it.
But I can speak from the child perspective and say that when you are the child and you can glean that choice that the parent is making is less than smart in the long run on how it's going to affect me, but I can deal with it. I'll be okay. But it does something. It does something to you. It doesn't mean you're going to hold it against the parent. You will move past it, but it still is sort of an indelible mark there. So they can have a great relationship and will have a great relationship, but you can't go back and redo those choices.
Yeah.
So now let's get, I don't know, did we not see Crystal?
No, it was just a flashback. You're right.
Okay. Just checking, since I didn't see it from the beginning. Was she at the retreat?
Crystal was at the retreat.
Okay, but no real highlight moments.
No.
Okay, well, good. She made the retreat. And any? Did I miss anything with Kathy? Is she making an appearance this season?
Aside from being mentioned, no. Aside from being mentioned, no.
And the picture at Sutton's Christmas party.
Correct.
So then, I guess we can move on to Kyle. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can say that we also did watch the beginning of Watch What Happens Live. So we do have that along with it to hear. And I would say most of the questions that I had or that I thought I knew the answer to, I'd say Andy did a decent job covering those things.
I agree. He could have gone really deep and for the jugular with some really tough ones, but I'm quite sure to get her on the show, maybe there were some pre-approved questions beforehand, because she seemed not surprised by the questions.
I think she was. By a couple of those questions, I think she was considering not answering, but she did answer to. I think it was a couple of them that did catch her off guard.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I would probably have to go back and look at her facial expression again, just to see.
I think it was a couple of them. I think there were some standard ones she was expecting, but I think it was a couple that she was, and more so about the more recent stuff with Mauricio and Dancing with the Stars. I think, but in any case, I would say I thought I got it before, but I really get it now. The space of, because I think you could probably add Mauricio to the list of, in a different way, but in the same vein, that she has been a people pleaser. And she cared so much about what everybody thought and thinks. And I think it has taken her all these years to finally decide, like she said in the clip. But what did that get me? That she still got the short end of the stick. She wasn't appreciated. She was still taken advantage of to some degree. She was still put upon. So it's like, at least I should be making choices that's truly making me happy. If the results could turn out to be the same, even if that means walking away from my marriage. And we know that we've heard things over the years that it has not been a totally monogamous marriage. I never heard on anything about Kyle, but about Mauricio. And if that's true or false, I would say by the way he talked to her about those tattoos, he was running the household. And I think maybe she finally just was ready to, live life on her terms. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree 100%. I think back to literally season 1 and Camille, and things that from that point forward, the little things that Camille would say about their marriage. And it would be these like one-liners, and no one really bought into what was being said. But you're right. Kyle was very much a people pleaser. It was about appearances. It was about, she always talked about how she prided herself on being a good mom, a good wife. We know what her family background was and how her mom struggled as a single parent, and how after she did get divorced from her first marriage, she was alone for a while. And I would imagine she didn't like that. And once she married Mauricio, I'm quite sure that that marriage was everything we thought it was for a while. But it changed into something different. But she stayed. And I think that after season 12 and all the things, and I think other things were going on, but I think season 12 broke her in a way where she said, enough is enough.
Yeah, because there was no healing. Typically after a season that's been rough, say for the exit with Lisa, but she didn't come to the reunion, so the reunion typically can sew things up and they can all be good. I think even Andy said this was the first time that they did not all go out together for a meal after the taping of the reunion, because there was no mending, there was no closure, there was no peace, there was no resolve.
And I did try before they started the premiere episode. I watched the reunion, and you're
Okay.
right. I did see the last scene, and it sounded like Erika was saying, "Let's go somewhere," but Kyle walked off,
Right.
and Dorit
Right.
followed her.
Right.
And when they were in that dressing room, that's when she just really broke down.
Was broken. She broke down because she was broken.
Yeah.
And that was her breaking point. And I believe from that point forward, it was one of those things where she was like, I got to do this thing differently. There is no reward in falling on my sword again and again and again. I'm just bleeding out. And so she's choosing her. And I don't blame her. I don't blame her, because living a life of self-sacrifice, you're only hurting yourself, and it's not appreciated in the way that you think it will be appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we do have to make sacrifices and compromise for our loved ones, but it should not be to our detriment.
Well, I can say some of the things I'm hoping for and looking forward to seeing in this season. I know that there's another castmate. We haven't seen her yet,
Correct.
but it's going to be interesting to see how she mixes in and melds with these group of ladies.
It will be.
To see whether or not Erika can learn to be empathetic.
She can play nice.
And play nice in the sandbox with everybody.
Right. Right.
Is Sutton still going to be...
She doesn't have Lisa Rinna as her ace this season, so
that's going to be so interesting.
Yeah.
Seeing,
which is why she's trying to mend a relationship with Dorit.
She needs an ally.
She needs a person. She doesn't. We know it's not Garcelle, and it actually could have been Sutton, but they just could, because they had their little, we're both Southern, little dinner last season.
But behind all of that, I think for anyone, Sutton was sincere.
Oh yes, I agree.
But there was something inauthentic about Erika.
I wouldn't say it was inauthentic. I would just say I would say they were at two different levels of the connection. Sutton may have thought she was connecting fully, but it was really just a partial connection. And I don't think, because I'm not going to say she was being inauthentic, because Erika really, that's why I said her whole conversation about doing what the audience wanted. Erika's not going to really do things or participate in stuff that she doesn't want to do. And so I think she was fond of what Sutton was trying to do, but I don't think she was 100% like, yeah, we're going to hang out and be buddies at that point. But now with Lisa gone, at least for the show, as we say, they can have show friends, and then they can have real friends. So it was like you said, it was a big anticipation, a little bit of a letdown, because we had to wait till the very end of the episode to kind of see the juicy part of what we were looking for. But I really think that it's going to be interesting watching the season play out. The thing that I liked is Kyle was not putting on she wasn't hiding it. She did not reveal it to Dorit, but she didn't hide it from us as viewers, if that makes sense.
I tell you, I thought that Mo's eyebrows was gonna just jump off of his face.
That's what I liked, because and that's why when she did say at the top of Watch What Happens Live that it's no way she would be doing this for the show. And Kyle, whatever you might want to say about her, she loves her kids, she loves her family. So for her to be taking the step to do what she's doing, it's literally because she decided to choose herself. And it was not for ratings and things like that. She wouldn't sacrifice her family for ratings in that way. Not her immediate family. Now, would her and her sisters do some things for ratings? Maybe. But I don't even think she wanted the degree to the fall apart that has happened in her family with her sisters, even for a TV show. Well, at least not one that she's not getting paid, like when she was doing her little show about her mom. But but in any case, I'm looking forward to seeing more of the season. I'm more checked in than I thought I would be. I still may not be recording it. I will still be okay with watching it whenever I can on Peacock, except when we choose to do a live drop like this. So that's what we're thinking. Make sure that you comment, add to the narrative, and tune in for our next show on the W.A.I.T channel. What am I thinking? Look forward to you subscribing and doing the notification bell so you can know when a new episode has been uploaded. Thanks for listening.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely ours and should be taken as such. Our thoughts are intended purely for entertainment purposes. Please do not take anything we say as fact or advice. Thank you for listening.